We start out the ending scene as the couple, Devlin and Alicia, are walking out the door. Devlin is in the higher position as Alicia is leaning on him, showing that he is the more dominant of the two. It cuts to a picture of Alex walking up the stairs, and then as the two of them, Devlin and Alex, are talking with each other, it focuses mainly on their faces, which really shows that it's trying to capture the emotion between these two people. And of course, Alicia is there, but she's mostly out of it at this point. Alex's mom comes in, and at first it shows her from far away, but she actually walks up right next to them, and they're in this little triangle type thing with Devlin and Alicia on the left, which is interesting because in our reading it said that if you're on the left, it shows you in more unfavorable light than if you're on the right. But in this case, the bad guy, Alex, is on the right, and the good guys are on the left, even though they are in his home, so maybe he's the king of his home. Then it goes to a shot of the Nazis, the other ones, in the room downstairs, and it plays around with these angles of the camera, which I think is really fun, because it's a very high angle looking down on the Nazis, which shows them as like pawns in a big scheme, whereas it shows Devlin and Alicia and Alex and his mom up from below and objectifies them as like the gods in this scene, and they're the ones who are in charge, even though really they're kind of pawns too in this little game. But they are the main characters, so I guess that counts. And then it shows as they go down the stairs, the Nazis are still standing there in a diagonal, which is very important because it talks about in our reading how diagonals show movement, even though nobody's moving. And I find it interesting that they have the Nazis standing in this powerful diagonal, because even though they are pawns, they are making the decisions when it comes to who lives and who dies in certain situations, and the only reason that's keeping Devlin and Alicia and Alex alive is that they don't know that she is an agent. So, it goes to them, and as the Devlin, Alicia, Alex's mom crowd walks downstairs, keeps cutting back to the Nazis, still standing in the same place, but they're getting bigger and bigger because they're moving down the stairs. So, by the time that they reach the bottom of the stairs, the Nazis look, huge, because they're normal sized. And I find this really interesting because it shows that, their importance in this scene. And then, of course, it starts showing close-ups of their faces as you catch their stern looks and emotions as they start moving towards the crowd, I guess, that is actually moving towards the door at this point. And then it shows a camera angle from the back towards the door, and it shows that this whole crowd of people is moving out the door, but is actually moving away from the camera instead of towards the camera, which I find to be more of a statement on where the relationship between Devlin and Alicia is going, and it's going into the past, back before she had anything to do with these people, back when they could be in love with each other. And this camera angle shows it because they are turning their backs on the Nazi house and they're leaving for a better life when them two can be together. Of course, at this point, Alex is still with them because he's trying his best to escape his fate. And as they walk towards the car and Alex opens the door and they get inside, they're moving towards the camera at this point. But it changes to the Nazis where they're standing in the doorway, and there's this very powerful, the main Nazi, I don't remember his name, but he's the one who basically kills people off. He's standing right of center in this very powerful position, seem as like the optimal position in our reading, and the mother is standing a little bit to the right of him, and the other Nazi is standing a little bit to the left of him in the background. And of course, as inevitably Alex cannot come with them, and they drive off, Devlin and Alicia drive off to the left, again showing their traverse into the past, back when things were better and they could actually be in love. So it's more of a returning instead of going back into the past. And poor Alex is left to his fate. And it's interesting how at this point the camera switches over from diagonals to a full-on symmetrical position, and Alex has to walk straight towards this door, and it's really an impending doom shot, which I think you find in The Shining and movies where, people can't really escape their fate, and that's what's shown in the very final scene of this. The only people that escaped were Devlin and Alicia going back to the relationship that they had before all of this Nazi business happened. And there you go. That is my interpretation of what happens in this final scene of Notorious by Alfred Hitchcock.